So let's get started with AT102, Back to the Basics, Tablet Apps and LD. My name is Beth McGaw, and I serve on the Board of Directors for LDA as well as Chair of the Marketing and Advertising Committee. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker tonight, Carolyn Phillips. Carolyn is joining us from Atlanta, Georgia, where she is a nationally recognized consultant in the field of assistive technology and disabilities, and currently serves as Director of Tools for Life, the Georgia Assistive Technology Act Program, the Pass It On Center, the National Assistive Technology Reuse Technical Assistance and Coordination Center. I am confident we will all walk away with a better understanding of the basics of assistive technology and how we can use them either in the classroom or in our daily living. We asked Carolyn to come back because she did such a great job with a webinar we had last month called AT101, Understanding and Advocating for Assistive Technology. I know that we are going to have a great session, and we're going to learn about various devices and apps to use for individuals with learning disabilities. So now I'm going to turn the floor over to Carolyn.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be presenting. I'm a huge fan of LDA, as you know, and thank you so much for the introduction and the opportunity. I hope everybody's doing well, and I'm honored to come a growing arena, if you will, in the field of assistive technology. And a lot of times people have big questions about tablets, apps, and how do they relate to supporting the needs of individuals with learning disabilities. So we're going to go back to the basics, explain some things, lay some foundation that you can build on. And the handouts from this presentation will be available on our website at the Tools for Life website. And you'll also obviously be able to get them through LDA. Our website address is gatfl.org. We tried to keep it really simple. We're housed at Georgia Tech, and we have a much longer address if you want to go directly to where the handouts will be. And it's on our gatfl.gatech.edu website /TFLWIKI. And so that's our wiki. So feel free to go there, and you can easily get there just from the website itself. So I wanted to give you some ideas as far as differences between Android, Apple, Microsoft Surface, and those different platforms. I find that a lot of people don't know the differences, and they're pretty significant as far as structure, but also in the way that they're designed, how things operate. When we look at accessibility, very important to know those differences and know yourself, or if it's your child or a parent or a sibling or students, know what their strengths are, and know if you need those accessibility features built in. I'm also going to be talking to you about some of my favorite apps when it comes to success in the classroom, in independent living, looking at transition and how do you, how can you be successful in that? And so we'll be talking and really diving in deep here. So here's the agenda. We're going to be exploring all kinds of things when it comes to these various tablets, accessibility, and the apps. I'm going to be talking a little bit about our App Finder tool, which is extremely helpful. Just as a beginning, I wanted to make sure you all know about AMAC. AMAC is an amazing organization. I'm very proud to be a member of this AMAC team. We're all about accessibility and do a great job when it comes to providing professional e-text, Braille production, captioning services, and assistive technology services. And take a lot of pride in that, but we also are able to help so many folks across the lifespan, but with some of those services specifically at the post-secondary level. With Tools for Life, we serve all ages, all disabilities. And so our focus is really focused on whatever the goals and objectives are for individuals. Our mission statement is very clear, and we abide by this and strive towards this every day. We are here to help folks with disabilities gain access to and acquisition of assistive technology devices and services so you can live, learn, work, and play independently in communities of your choice. The piece about this that's important is, and is very exciting, is we're living in a time where you can get, you know, a $200 device or even a $100 device, get some free apps, and all of a sudden you can be, you know, up and running and do things in a different way than you've ever done before that can be very, very helpful. And that's very exciting to those of us who have been in the field for so many years. I've been doing this for 26 years, and it's exciting to see all the variations and see that change. And also see the promise of assistive technology being kept. That's very exciting. So the big question that people come to me with and come to our team with is, which one? There are so many devices. And you're exactly right. There are tons of devices. So we're going to dive in deep and pay attention to the differences, similarities, and help you consider what you might really want to think about in the arena of tablets and apps. As I go through this presentation, you will see icons in the top upper right top corner. This little green icon is a droid. That's Android's symbol. So if you see that, then I'm talking about Android. The one in the middle is an Apple, and that is Apple's symbol, logo. And so this refers back to Apple or Apple apps or products or what have you. And then the one over to the right is Microsoft. And so I just wanted to practice what I preach about universal design for learning principles, tie this together for you, and also have a quick reference for all of you. So when we're looking at tablets, very, very important to compare. This chart it changes all the time. And it's important to recognize these differences. And what this captures here are, you know, the number and variety of tablets, the operating systems, the number of apps, software updates, and how are those released, and then interfaces. And that's very important. Android, if we're looking at that, this is astounding to me. There's over 11,000 different types of Android devices in the world. That's right, 11,000 different types. They actually have different operating systems that are candy-based in their name, and they go in alphabetical order. So right now we're on KitKat, so it's K. And then there's over, according to AppBrain, and this was I captured this a while back, but almost 900,000 apps, and that's still a pretty good number. And then the software updates come from Google as it becomes available. Then it's on Google. It's Google-based. iOS, that's Apple's operating system, and they have primarily the iPad, the iMini, and so those are the tablets that we're talking about. You'll also see the iTouch. I'm a big fan of the iTouch, and I'll tell you about that in more detail in just a few minutes. iOS 7 was released in September 2013, but iOS 8 is now released, and that's an important. It's important to know that. I would not necessarily. A lot of people jump on those changes, and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to upgrade." I don't always upgrade, immediately when these operating systems are released, because if it's technology that I'm dependent upon, then I'm careful about that, and that has served me well. I am excited about iOS 8, and I'm going to tell you about that in just a few minutes. There are over 900,000 apps that are involved in the Apple community, which is great. Microsoft Windows, there are several tablets, including the Surface, and that's exciting. Windows 8 is the operating system. I'm a big fan of Windows 8. And the apps continue to be updated every day. We're, I would say, about 104,000 that are really solid. But when I was looking earlier this week in preparation for this, I found about 200,000 apps, and that's great. Microsoft makes those releases, and that's good to know. And then, of course, the Kindle Fire and Fire HD. I'm a big fan of these. It's a modified version of Android's operating system, and there are 50,000 apps plus. That number continues to grow. Amazon is the one that releases that. I actually was a big fan of the Nook, and the Nook has now been acquired by Samsung. But you can still find the Nook out there, and they actually have a Samsung device that's Samsung Nook, and so this still applies as far as all of that is concerned. Samsung is actually awesome in what they develop. Android-based, they have various screen sizes. It's, as I said, an Android system with a really great camera and a micro card. It also works well. It's got a USB port for a computer. You can also use that USB port for a small keyboard or a mouse or another type of input device. It's got some built-in accessibility apps, and one of the ones that I'm very excited about with Samsung, and they've kind of led the way, is with eye gaze. I don't know how many of you have seen that commercial where the person is looking at a Samsung device and then they look away and the movie pauses. They're watching a movie, and the movie pauses when they look away, and then they look back and the movie continues. They are also using that type of technology to track where we look on the screen and get an idea as to how we navigate the screen, and getting all kinds of information about user, how do users use their devices, and how do we navigate software. Fascinating, and I think promising as far as helping make smarter devices. These start at under $200, and that's a good price. As I said, the Kindle Fire, I'm a big fan of this one too. The nice thing about this is it's developed out of that ebook reader. That's kind of, if you're a huge reader and that's kind of where you live, then this is a very good device to consider. It has the front-facing camera, which is helpful. A lot of the devices, they only have cameras that face outwards, but this one you could do like Google Hangout, or you could do Skype or something like that, which is very helpful. It has free cloud storage for Amazon purchases, so all those books. I actually had to just clean out my library that's on my iPhone just this week, because I had way too many books on there and it was slowing everything down. And so I look over here at the Kindle Fire, and I love the idea of the free cloud storage. You can purchase apps from Amazon, and the size is right for a lot of people. That 7-inch to 8.9-inch screen seems to work for children and adults. It also has this Mayday button, which is great for folks who are a little technology challenged, where you can hit a Mayday button and somebody will actually pop up and help you navigate live. And that's huge. It's the only device that has that. It starts at $139 for the HD, but I would, if I was going to invest in this product, I would actually go for the $199 if you can, because it's worth it. You can also see, I just wanted to give you more information about that you can download books and movies, and some of the features that I think apply to us within the learning disability community, as many of you know, I have learning disabilities myself, so I live and breathe and walk this, and I get the experience. I have dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, and auditory processing. So what I'm often looking for are books that could be accessible and devices and their accessibility. Because I want to look at bimodal learning, bimodal input and output, being able to get the information in and out various ways. So it can read books out loud, the Kindle Fire can, with Whisper Sync, which is great. And it's big into immersion reading, and I think that's very, very helpful. You can also change the font, and that helps a lot of us with dyslexia and dysgraphia. The line spacing, the text size, and the background color. Sometimes just those subtle little differences are the difference that makes a device accessible to us. The layout is very, very friendly and very intuitive, and you'll see the same kind of theme throughout all of the layouts of the devices. Where it has external speakers, you notice that actually the external speakers are on the top here, and it's got a headphone jack, charger, and the power button down below. And it's good to know kind of how things are laid out. The Android tablets, the accessibility features are, they're not always built in. It's unusual, and that's why I wanted to highlight what Kindle has done with their device, the Kindle Fire, as I said. But the accessibility features, they don't come necessarily with all the Android tablets. Some of those features are talkback, kickback, soundback, eyes-free keyboard, which can be helpful, ideal web reader for internet. Paying attention to some of those things, gesture features that you can change, and that's very helpful. You must have a Google Play card to buy apps and a Google email address, a Gmail address, in order to get the Android apps, and I think that's also very important. The challenge here with Android is if you have someone who has difficulty with sequencing, so if they have a difficult time, as a lot of folks with learning disabilities do, with too many steps to make something happen, to set this up, then Android can be very, very challenging. So paying attention to that can be the decision maker of whether or not you should go with an Android device versus Apple iOS or Microsoft Surface or something along those lines. The accessible Android apps, VLingo, I started using that when I was using BlackBerry, and it's voice commands. Very good, very solid app, can be very helpful. The text-to-speech is very helpful and can be, one of those apps and widgets that helps a lot of folks when it comes to getting text to come alive, if you will. There are 12 different apps, and you can get a 30-day free trial. But to get all the accessibility apps for Android, it costs $99. One time, but it's $99. If you go to androidaccess.net, you can get even more information about the accessibility and also the accessibility of some of these Android apps. And I was on androidaccess.net today just looking at some of those features in some specific apps. This is just very interesting to me, and I wanted to give this to you in a visual way of how the Android market has just exploded, not just blossomed, but exploded. In a matter of 1 year, July 2012, there were 3,997 different Android devices that you could buy, from Galaxy to Nexus to Zoom, etc., HTC, all of those. In 1 year, July 2013, there were 11,868 different kinds of Android devices. And that continues to grow, that number. But when we're talking about the positives and looking at where Android is headed, it is an open system. There are many, many, many more apps being developed on a daily basis. Here at Georgia Tech, we have quite a few students that's all they're developing apps for is an Android platform because it is so open. And the future of the operating system for Android is truly limitless. Google has set forth this very progressive and very futuristic ambition of funding a lot of initiatives when it comes to Android. One of the ones that I think is very interesting for those of us within the learning disability community is Google Now. Google Now is something that you can sign up right now if you wanted to, and what it can do is it can tell you knows what you're doing in the morning when you're getting ready for work, and it can tell you about traffic patterns. It can tell you that there's a wreck. It can tell you how long it'll take you to get to work. It can turn on lights in tandem with another app. It could turn off lights. It can remind you to go to the grocery store. It can remind you about your grocery list. A friend of mine and colleague was flying, and he has Google Now. And what Google Now did, he was flying in while he was in flight. Google went in and saw that the next flight that he was supposed to take, the connecting flight, was delayed. It checked his emails and knew that this is what was happening, then went ahead and got him on the next flight out, and as soon as he landed it said, hey, your flight's delayed, but here's the next flight, and if you want to confirm this seat, we can do it now. Fascinating. For those of us within the learning disability community, that makes me very excited. It makes me a little nervous too. I'm not so sure that I want Google Now to go in and read all my emails and know what I'm up to. But when it comes to living life simpler and having technology work for us, that's helpful. So very interesting to pay attention to that. Technology is evolving so quickly, and the iOS is one of those things with Apple that has led the way. In June 2007, the first iPhone was on the market, and I think I got mine probably in July of 2007. In October 2008, that's when the first Android phone was sold, and then 2010 we see the first iPad. So it has been just a matter of 7 years that all of this is evolving. We're also seeing that there's over 400 million iTunes accounts, and that continues to evolve. And Apple receives about almost 50 million app downloads per day. And these statistics continue to be relevant, and I think that's great. I went back and double-checked, and it was fascinating. So here's just the the variations of iOS and Apple opportunities that they have when it comes to tablets. There is the iTouch over here to the left, and as I said, I wouldn't discount that. It's easy to replace and for a lot of folks because the price is right. You can get this for under $200. The middle one is a mini, and once again, great size for a lot of smaller hands. Great size for a lot of folks who need something that they want to carry around and be on the go with. And then, of course, there's the iPad, the original size, and that's very, very, once again, very relevant. You can do all kinds of things with these. There are millions of apps. There's videos and iTunes, and it can really help you stay organized, and I'm going to show you some apps that support that. The nice thing about this is the accessibility features are built in, and that's huge. And it's also extremely intuitive. The design is so intuitive. I just finished reading a book about, and a lot of you have probably read it too, Walter Isaacson's book about Steve Jobs. And It was interesting because a lot of people are aware that Steve Jobs, was a part of our community, and definitely icon-based and all of that. And it's no wonder that this device is so, and this family of devices is so accessible. And I think that's excellent. It's built in. The iPad Touch, that part of why I like this also is because the camera is so good. It's got 5 megapixels, the newest one. The other features that are built in, so helpful. There are millions of apps that are available for the iPad Touch, and it continues to grow, as I said. And the layout for all of these devices when it comes to the iOS family, very similar and very intuitive, as I said. On and off at the very top. You can silence it quickly. You can also change the rotation. It's got a toggle switch for volume up and down, and it's got a home button that gets you back to the home, and that's how you toggle between all the apps. This is very helpful for a lot of folks because it is so intuitive just in how you turn it on, turn it off. I've been able to get people up and running with an iPad within minutes within our learning disability community, which is great. Not always the same success when it comes to Android, and so that's definitely a positive. Those features that I was telling you about that you want to consider for accessibility, VoiceOver, which reads everything out loud, Zoom, and then which makes everything bigger, and that's great. Also, large text. You can go ahead and set what size text you want. You can also invert colors. Very simple and easy way to do this. You can have it so it speaks things out loud, speaks auto text. It can speak just a selection of text. That's extremely helpful for those of us who have auditory processing and have a difficult time, seeing how something actually, the way it's written and the way it's pronounced. You can also have Assistive Touch turned on, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that. And then there are some other really cool features when it comes to iOS 7. If you haven't upgraded to iOS 8 and you're still using iOS 7, that's okay. That's part of why I'm talking about iOS 7. And there are actually people who are still using iOS 6. And so what you can do with this, and what I wanted to highlight with iOS 7, is you can automatically turn on captioning and subtitles for videos, and that's huge. I use captioning all the time on my home TV. When I am watching a movie, I often prefer to have captioning on just so I can make sure I can connect those words with what I think was said. And this is amazing to be able to have this within a device, and that's great. So in the iOS 8, they actually did something that I think is ingenious here, and it says our smartest keyboard ever. I'm glad they said our smartest and rather than the smartest, because what they did is they put embedded word prediction. My nephews who are within our learning disability community, I'm obviously a big user and big fan of word prediction. I love that this is embedded here. What it does is it's different than word completion, where it's based on spelling. What this does is it learns the way you type, and it starts giving you the words that you actually type often, and also what would make sense. And that's very exciting when we're talking about speed, accuracy, making life easier for us where words can be difficult. This also has the iCloud. Remember, I was just talking about how great it is about Kindle, and this is great for those of us who have several devices that are iOS-based. So you can put any file you want across devices. With the Kindle, remember, it was free for Amazon apps storage. This is free for any apps that they have, and I think that's great. I thought this was clever. It says the good news is you can work from anywhere on any file. The bad news is you can work on any file anywhere. I thought that was very clever, and it is good news because it helps those of us who want to have access to our files wherever we are, and not have to worry about storage, and I think that's great. I also like this with iOS 8, and it's looking at health and how to in a visual way, and it's got built in a heart rate monitor, activity tracker. It's got fitness apps that can talk to each other, and health apps that can talk to each other and communicate, and it's very, very cool to be able to have this, and also in a visual way so we can get that multimodal way of getting the information in. And this is more information about VoiceOver and how that works. Assistive Touch I had told you about before. For some of our folks within our community that have a difficult time with fine motor skills, this can be very helpful because rather than doing very specific gestures to operate your device, you can actually customize them. And the way you would do that is go to Assistive Touch, and then you would actually make that happen. And it's great because being able to customize that can be very helpful. I'm also a big fan of how iOS has brought in some of those keyboard shortcuts that we've used for years. This is just a very simple one, and I've used this example for years, and it was nice to see this embedded in all the iOS operating systems. So you can create a shortcut. So rather than writing out Tools for Life - Georgia's Assistive Technology Act program, I can type just TFL, create a shortcut, and so anytime I put TFL, then it'll spell out all of those words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words, and I get it in 3 letters, and that's great. That alleviates any stress or frustration that I may have about my own typing abilities, and it saves time, and it's easy to communicate, which is great. There's also this great little trick that a lot of people are not aware of, that whenever you type a web address, you'll see this little reader button pop up within that window. If you tap on that window and tap specifically on reader, the word reader, what happens is all the clutter goes away from that little screen. So the Google icon, for example, the download now, all of that goes away, and it becomes what you see on the right, which is just text. Awesome. So clever and such a great feature for many of us. Guided access for folks that have ADHD or who have difficulty on staying on task. This is a cool feature that's built in, and this shows once again where Apple listens to us, and they created this to help with that specifically. You can limit it. It helps somebody stay focused and stay on task and stay within one app. You can limit it to one app, and you can put a password so you can restrict, where that people are navigating all over. And it's really helpful, and this helped with a lot of the individualized education plan meetings that I was in, where people were like, oh no, we can't get an iPad because the person will be all over the internet and they'll be everywhere. And I was like, nope, actually we can put guided access on and limit the access and really focus on one app or whatever apps that we need. And so that's been really helpful. The price, can vary here, obviously, but I want to encourage folks to be mindful that there are awesome opportunities when it comes to acquisition, because especially of Android and iOS devices, Apple devices, through the refurbished market. You can find those at Amazon and Best Buy, and look for a 1-year warranty. Very, very important. The Surface Pro 3, I am a huge fan of this. I actually I have an iPhone, I have an iMini, but I also use, and I used it today, the Surface Pro 3. Here, I wanted to show you this comparison because a lot of people were comparing the Surface Pro 3 to an iPad, and that's not the right comparison. It really is more of a laptop that's really small. And so the comparison, the more appropriate comparison would be to the MacBook Air. And you'll see in here, where they've done portability, and they talk about, that the Surface Pro, it weighs, 2.4 pounds. It's incredibly thin. It's, 0.55 of an inch thin. And that's pretty darn amazing. It's got a very strong processor from Intel, the Intel Core. And with Windows 8.1 or Windows 8, you can actually do several things at the same time, and it's called snapping. You can snap 3 apps or programs side by side. That's part of why I love this Surface. The other thing is that the accessibility features are built in. Shape of the apps, and that's huge for those of us who need to organize that way. You can use icons, any number of different things you can do when it comes to customizing this desktop for the user. Once again, the layout is very friendly, very easy to navigate, and very intuitive. I captured this photo and created this slide just because I wanted you all to, once again, get a kind of a flow. But part of what I wanted you to know is that it has 2 USB ports. One's a micro USB port, and the other one is just a standard USB port. Very, very helpful because if you want to connect different devices, it's easy. This is one of the easiest ones to do that in a hard connection. You can also use Bluetooth, and that works. The camera is solid, and it's also got great sound when it comes to speaker and also microphone, and it's a very solid device. The accessibility features are, I think, top-notch when it comes to the ease of access. And these are ones that have been developing a lot over time. We've seen these before, and they continue to evolve. It's specifically, their speech recognition is really outstanding. And often when I'm trying out solutions with folks and I'm trying to see if speech recognition is the way to go, before I jump to Dragon Naturally Speaking or a tool like that, word queue, speech queue, something along those lines, I actually try it out with their speech recognition on Windows because that's a pretty solid indicator if the person is going to be successful with speech input and speech recognition. The magnifier is great, and also the narrator, very helpful. So our app finder is designed to help you. And so that's why we have it with Tools for Life. This is not meant to give you those millions of apps that I just talked about that are out there. This is meant to give you the best apps when it comes to hearing, cognition, reading, writing, navigation, productivity, organization. That's what our tool is about. It's designed for all ages, all disabilities, and you can find it easily on our website, on our homepage. And it's a very active it's very active part of our website. And you can actually go here and type in the name of an app if you want to look by name, search by name, or you can search by category. You can also search by price and device type. And then if you want to, you can rate some of the apps. That helps a lot in helping other folks get an idea as to what apps are available. Some of my favorite apps are, and I'm going to share those with you now when we're looking and talking about assisting folks with learning disabilities. It's a wide range, and what I do is I look at very specific tasks and what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And so if it's remembering, then I'm looking at, what is it that can help the individual. Is it using reminders, something that's already built into a phone or a smart device, a tablet? Is it using to-do list? There are several really good apps for that. Is it maybe something having to do with studying or bookmarking or perhaps mind mapping? And then also understanding technology and understanding various aspects of what it is you're trying to get to. There are all kinds of great apps for that. When you're talking about analyzing, there's some great apps for outlining. There are some great apps for organizing, structuring, putting structure. And so what I do is I actually sit down with individuals and say, okay, well, what area are we looking at? Are you creating something? Is it an iMovie? Are you trying to tell a story? Are you trying to create a project? Are you doing something that's collaborative? And really trying to get move forward. So this is just one of many examples of tools that I use. Learning Ally is one of my favorite apps that's out there. And you definitely should try this out if you haven't. You can get a free trial and go there. There's over 75,000 audiobooks and other recorded books, textbooks, all kinds of things. It's based on Daisy, and that's important to know. And so try this one out. I'm a big fan of Learning Ally, and they've been a very good partner in our learning disability community. Audible.com, I actually have a membership and I download books all the time. Just this last week I downloaded 4 different books and I listen to them. Part of what I like about Audible.com, and this is more for leisure reading for me, if I'm doing more study skills and stuff, I'm looking at Learning Ally or Bookshare or some of our AMAC products. But Audible is more, as I said, for leisure. It's read by Hollywood stars, award-winning performers, and professional narrators. And so, and I really do like that. So they have over 150,000 titles. VoiceStream is $10, and this app, what it does is it allows text-to-speech. And you can import Bookshare, Dropbox, documents, Word documents, PDFs, and you can buy different voices. One of the key things about this is you can change the rate of speed. This takes a lot of those accessibility features to a whole different level when we're talking about text-to-speech in a tablet. So you can also download now and then read something later. It doesn't have to be real time, which is great. Some of my favorite Surface apps that are out there include this personal assistant app, which is Maluba, and it's a free app. Apollo is really cool because it helps with understanding the calendar and when sunrise and sunsets and things like that. Some of our folks I've used that with. It's got this great graphic interface. And then there's also, they have things like barcode generators. I've used that for organization for some folks within the LD community where we've put barcodes on specific items and can generate your own barcodes for organization. Very, very helpful for those of us that struggle with words and numbers. So it's very cool. Llamando is news that's read to you by real people. This is a free app that's out there, and once again it's helpful for those of us who want to have conversations about updated information and stay current. You can upgrade this to a premium membership for $4 a month. I have stuck with the for the free version, and I'm very happy with that. Bard Mobile is one of my favorite apps that's out there that's free. This is actually by the National Library Service and the Library of Congress, and you must be registered with them. You must show documentation of a disability, but you can actually adjust the very simply the sound, the speed. You can adjust and mark where you are. You can rewind and fast forward, and it's a very, very intuitive app, especially for those of us who are used to recorders and portable, 4-track tape players and all of that. Magnify is another really good app, and this is, Android. What it does is it changes that Android device, that tablet or phone, into a digital magnifier glass with a built-in flashlight. Right here you can see that it zoomed in on specifics when it came to what are the vitamins and calcium and all of that within a specific product. And it's helpful that you can do that with just being able to zoom in. Once again, with some of the folks that I work with when it comes to learning disabilities, sometimes just having something bigger can help us in processing what that is. My Med Schedule is great because what it does, it's a free app and it works across platforms, so Android, iOS, and that's awesome that it does that. Keeps track of medication. It gives you reminders. You can even put in there when you need to go to the doctor, refill reminders. You can put all your allergy insurance information, healthcare provider information. It's very, very cool. And there are several apps out there, but one of the reasons why I like this is because you can see in here that it actually gives you images of specific medications, and that helps so much because so many of us are visual, and I think that's really great. Ginger is another one of my favorite apps, and this goes back to grammar and spell checking, very sophisticated spell checking and grammar check. And it works across whether you're trying to text or do Gmail, emails, social media, and it's great when it comes to helping all of us use grammar correctly. Paige Wants is a free app that can help you keep track of your cash and credit cards and also help you pay your bills. It gives you real-time alerts about, hey, this bill's coming up. It'll also tell you if you've overcharged, what's going on with some of your payments, and it helps you understand debt. I've used this a lot for some of our folks as they're transitioning so that they can get an idea as to what their debt is and how that works. Dragon Dictation, this is free, and it's a very helpful app when it comes to voice recognition. And then Audio Note is extremely helpful when it comes to taking notes in a meeting, recording lectures, multiple ways that you can actually get information in here, whether it's drawing it, highlighting it, taking a picture. You can record at the same time, and then it timestamps, and then you can go back later and hit, okay, I wanted to listen to this again, and it'll actually take you right back to where it was in the recording. Perfect OCR is another one of my favorite apps. It's only $4, and it's got this built-in, uses your camera, and it's built-in camera, and you can take a picture of something and it converts it so that you can actually hear it read out loud. It's very, very helpful for those of us who need to read something quickly and have that bimodal input where we see it and hear it. iHomework, and once again, this is on several platforms, including the Surface and, of course, iOS. And it's a graphic organizer when it comes to organizing homework. I've started using this with folks in elementary school, and I've got folks that are in college that are using the same app. And it helps when it comes to understanding what your grades are, what your to-do list is, teacher information, all of those things. MyScript Calculator, and there are several of these out there that can use your handwriting to solve any arithmetic formula. There's another one that I haven't tried yet, and I didn't put it in here, but it's called PhotoMath, where you take a picture of a problem and it'll actually solve it for you. Fascinating. And so continue to check in, and we'll continue to keep you updated when it comes to some of these math-related apps. Money can be very complicated for folks. I was working with a young person who has learning disabilities and helping them understand, for example, what $326 can look like. And so this is a free app, and once again helping navigate that kind of space of connecting money to value. This is Picture Scheduler. I like this because it's icon-based. It gives you that, matches it to the Word also, and it gives that to-do list. There are other folks that I've seen just to-do lists that are all written out, and not always successful for some of our folks with learning disabilities. You can organize these in categories. You can set alarms, so it could be repeated daily, monthly, weekly, whatever it is that you need. And then you can also have it so that it emails out, hey, I finished all my tasks, and that's great. Cozy, I really like this app too for families or partners. I'm working with a couple right now. The husband has learning disabilities, the wife doesn't. They're running into a lot of conflicts when it comes to family calendars and reminders, and I'm at the grocery store, why didn't you tell me you needed that? And what I like about this is that you can actually communicate all that's going on in a family or in a household. You can share the grocery list real time, even when you're offline. As soon as you hit the internet, then it'll actually update. You can set reminders. You can jot down memories, so then you'll have something to talk about. It's very cool, and I've seen that it's one of those relationship savers when you're looking at family dynamics and how learning disabilities can play a part of that. Grocery Store IQ is a pictorial shopping list, and what you can do is scan items as you're putting them into the recycling or into the trash can, and it starts to build your list for you. You can also you can assign exactly which aisle these items are on when you go to the store, and it works with speech to text, text to speech, large images. Very, very helpful and very accessible. And then a lot of folks are not aware, and I'm one of them, I was not aware of all the different options when it comes to food. This is called NutraKate, but understanding that you can make healthier choices. And I wanted to make sure y'all were aware of this. It can create a list of what you ate. It can also give you some ideas as to what's a healthier option. You'll see that it's an A, B, C, D, E, F rating that's over here, and it'll actually tell you how many calories and sugar and all of that. So NutraKate, it's free, and once again, very helpful. I like the visual display and just the information you get. The other thing that I have found is that a lot of our folks within the learning disability community, sleep can be an issue. We're trying to catch up on work and trying to, balance everything just like everybody else, but it can be a challenge. And Sleep Cycle helps track your sleep pattern. This one, it works, you can do it with Android or iOS. It's a $3 app, and if you're really tired and you can't quite figure out, gosh, why am I waking up tired, what it'll do is tell you how many times you woke up during the night. It can also, you can set an alarm, and it'll figure out where you are in your sleep pattern and wake you up slowly within about a 10-minute, 15-minute window. Very, very helpful, and I've seen that has made a difference for people to feel more refreshed and more energized. So worth looking at. Every Trail is a great app when we're looking at that daily living and exercise and being out there. And what you can do is actually see close to you what walking trails are available, what tours are available, what biking and hiking, any of that. What's available near me. You can see maps. It can give you points of interest, and then you can also track how far did you walk, what's your elevation, all of that. I'm getting ready to go on a trip to Utah, and I've already started looking up every trail that I'm going to be on. The other great thing about this is that you can work offline with it. It's free, and I can keep it and tell people about what I did. This is where I hiked. And so once again, it's a great conversation starter, and also helps us stay organized, which I like. talking about sharing our story, this is iMovie, and one of my favorite apps that's out there. And you can actually make movies that look kind of like, here it says mini masterpieces, and it's true. It's amazing how many really cool things you can do with iMovie, and I use this a lot. I've got a young person that I'm working with who has a tough time telling their story, and so we've used this, and it's brilliant what they came out with. So really, really great app. USA Today is, you may be surprised to see it in my list of favorite apps, but the reason why it's in my favorite list is because this app, of course, you know, like a lot of other media, it's free, but USA Today does a great job when it comes to capturing pieces of information in a way that's digestible for those of us that have challenges with words, where print can be difficult. And so it gives it to us in a way that's easy to digest. A lot of this is actually written on a third grade reading level. A lot of people don't know that, but that's one of the great things about USA Today. And it does a great job with those universal design for learning principles. A lot of their videos are already captioned. And you can pick your favorite areas of interest, and then it'll customize the news for you. Once again, very helpful when it comes to being able to be organized and up to date. I also like SkyGrid. This is also free, and it's great for Android or iOS for Apple. And you can personalize the news across various media outlets. You can, you know, look at politics. You could look at sports. You could look at weather. You could look at science. And you can pick what your topics are, and then it organizes them all in one place where you can quickly look at SkyGrid, and it'll pull up the most current information from these various news and media outlets. So it gives you that news feed. I've used this once again for folks that might be going on job interviews or even first dates, where they know a little bit about somebody, or they know something about you know, the company that they're working with, and it gives them quick ways to be able to connect and have something of interest to talk about, which is great. So the other one that I wanted to make sure you're aware of, and this was actually developed by our military, and it's Breathe to Relax. This is an app that has a lot of science and research behind it. It's a portable stress management tool. And a lot of the folks that I meet with within our learning disability community, there's stress involved. And this is one of those apps that I've been able to get folks to start using. You know, sit down, relax, use this even before taking a test. I've had that actually put into an IEP before, that they could use a breathing technique, and this was the app that they were going to use. And so it actually, there's as I said, research behind this that shows the effects of stress on the body, and how being able to breathe, doing those yoga kind of breaths, can help somebody relax and be able to focus and center. And it's great to have an app that can walk you through that. And so worth paying attention to. The other one, as I close, I wanted to make sure that you're also aware of all the great music that's out there, that's you know, that there are apps for. But you can customize this, you know, if you want to get media or different music, whatever it is that you need. Once again, thinking about relaxation, thinking about centering, and thinking about, you know, how can we help people within the learning disability community be as effective as possible. I, you know, have mentioned this to so many people within our community, and it's amazing how many people have said, oh my gosh, that is the app that really helped me, whether it's calming down or even, you know, getting a different mindset for the day. So, and once again, it's free. Zen Garden is one of my apps that I want you to be aware of. There are several out there, but this is another one for stress. And I've actually seen where, a lot of people, it does help them kind of calm down. You can choose what you want to put in your garden. You can put plants and creatures and, all kinds of objects, and you can rake the sand and all of that. And there are several in this family of kind of peaceful. There's a koi pond. There's another type of garden. There's one that's just a sky with birds flying by. But Zen Garden is one of those that a lot of people like, and so I wanted to make sure you were aware of it. There's a lot of different evolutions that we're going to keep seeing in this community of tablets. This shows a picture of Google Glass that's being used with NeuroSky, which is a brainwave. Very interesting technology. A lot of people have a tough time with typing, and I just wanted you to be aware that this is pretty cool because this student, actually developed an app where you can think about taking a picture and it actually takes a picture with Google Glass. That just happened in July of 2014. So very, very interesting to see some of those trends. Here I am in our Student Center at Georgia Tech with Google Glass. I'm a big fan of where things are headed with this type of technology, whether it's recognizing individuals as they come up to see us, or reading our emails, having our emails read out loud to us, as we're just walking, and being able to send an email with our voice just by tipping our head back. Pretty amazing what's happening with this wearable technology. And same thing with the Leap, which is more gesture-based, working with tablets. You can see that it's here. They're actually using this rather than typing. Typing can be a big issue for a lot of folks, but this is a gesture-based app and also a software program. And then I spoke a little bit about this one last time we met with AT101, and I just wanted to, remind you once again about how technology is evolving so quickly. This is developed by folks at MIT, and it's a finger device. It looks like a ring that reads to people who are blind in real time. Now, of course, as we know, you don't have to be blind to have an issue with reading. I'm excited about this because I'm excited about where it's headed. And some of the smartwatches that I'm seeing out there, it's exciting because I'm seeing that they help organize a lot of our folks with learning disabilities. So pay attention to these wearable computer, and wearable tablet, devices and accessories that are out there. All kinds of cool things that are being developed, even as we speak. I hope this was helpful for you. I really encourage you, and I know Beth's going to talk more about this, to join us at the LDA conference in Chicago. We're going to be diving even deeper into tablets and apps and having conversations about those, really rich conversations. And hope that you'll be a part of that. We're also going to be exploring robots, specifically this one, which is called Now, and how that interacts with tablets and also helps support individualized education goals, can also help therapeutic goals. Very exciting. So I hope this was helpful, and I would like to open it up now for questions. And let me know what questions you have and how I can help. I've also got my email address up here. I'm Carolyn Phillips, and I put a picture this time so you could see who I am, and that's my email address right there, carolyn.phillips@gatfl.gatech.edu. And this is just some images of my amazing team. I feel very lucky to work with these folks.
Thanks, Carolyn. Let's go ahead and open the floor for questions. Our first question says, do you know of any AT or devices that specifically help with dysgraphia?
I think it depends on what type, how is dysgraphia affecting your life, because there are various ways that it does affect an individual. And so if you could give me just a little bit more information about how it's affecting, because once again it goes back to that bimodal input and getting that information back out. Having symbols and things like that, words read out loud, I have seen that really can make a big difference. So yes, so there are devices that are out there for that.
Okay, our next question says, what are the top 3 devices for daily living and for the classroom?
Okay, so top 3, once again, this is where we get very personal and customized. My top 3 may be different than your top 3, but when we're looking at, devices, learning disabilities, it affects, everybody differently. But I would say, my iPhone is definitely, in the top of those for me personally, and it's because I can use it to organize. I can use it for wayfinding, for navigation, as I'm trying to get from one place to another. I can use it to take notes, that audio note, like I was saying, if you're thinking about educational environments and classrooms, very, very helpful and a time saver. And then also being able to use your voice, Dragon Naturally Speaking, either the Dragon app or speech recognition on something like the Surface, where you can actually speak and be able to effectively write papers and things like that. If organization is an issue, then using something like iHomework, almost every student that I'm working with has used iHomework, and all of them like it, which is great, and have seen where it really can help them be a better student. So those are some of my favorites and some of my top recommendations.
Okay, let's cycle back to the first question about AT or devices for dysgraphia. The clarification is dysgraphia handwriting specifically.
Oh, okay. So if the person is having difficulty with handwriting, specifically, then there are several things that I would look at. One of those tools, and part of why I wanted to show you the gesture and the NeuroSky, is because I think that those technologies are really promising and are going to lead towards being able for us to even create and write. I've actually seen where that's happening in the lab, so that's very exciting. But in today's time, when it comes to writing and having to write something quickly, there are things like the LiveScribe, which can help with taking notes. There's also a couple of apps that, and I'll have to get the name for you, where as you're writing, then it'll actually turn your writing into type, so it makes it look a lot easier, and it's a lot easier to read, and so it flows. So those are some of the solutions that I think are very helpful and have been kind of lifesavers for some of the people that I've worked with that have dysgraphia.
Our next question, my teenage son is resistant to AT because others in his class don't use it. Any suggestions for how I can help him get excited about using AT both now and so that he's prepared to use it in college?
Absolutely. That, to me, comes down to several things. Self-advocacy and self-determination skills, and helping that student understand that he or she, but in this case he, is not different. That, and if he is, different is good. Different can be great, actually. But that he's not different in that there are lots of us out here that have learning disabilities that use technology all the time. There are people that actually come down to my office and meet me just because they want their son or daughter to meet somebody who has graduated and is working at one of the top universities, and really, living, the life that I want to, with the use of assistive technology. I use upwards of 23 different types of assistive technology every day, and I'm very open about that. And so a lot of it has to do with being able to see that other people are successful with this, also being comfortable with difference and embracing that difference, and seeing that there are other folks that have had to do that. I'm happy to talk with your son, just happy to do that, no problem, and also to talk about what technology solutions could really help. I think that a lot of times it comes down to personalizing it and building success by having one technology solution introduced and getting success with that, and then having another one introduced. Perhaps something that's really cool and mainstream, that's part of why these tablets are so helpful, is even the Surface. That's something that you see everywhere when it comes to high-tech environments. And being able to have a Surface, in high school would be very cool. Or, the Mac Air, or, iPad, whatever it is that they're doing. So I hope that's helpful. And just know that, this struggle is one that a lot of us face. I know that when I first started using technology, I was very sheepish about bringing it out. But now is the time to learn. I'm glad you're starting at 16 to do that, because when you get to college, it's a lot to learn your technology and try to navigate college. That can be too much.
We have time for one more question. Do you know of a good app for writing paragraphs?
Yes. Well, it depends on what how you're trying to write those, and what you're trying to do with that paragraph. If it's sentence structure that you're struggling with, or the grammatical structure of a paragraph or a document, then Ginger would be an excellent tool for that. If it's the production of a paragraph, then something more along writer's block would be helpful, so that you can actually get the concepts out and then rearrange them, and then have that become a paragraph. A lot of people who are writing scripts and writing television advertisements, things like that, movie scripts, sitcoms, they use that same writer's block tool, and I've seen that that's really helped when it comes to producing paragraphs and things like that. And then there's also some other tools when it comes to Read and Write. Their app can be very helpful when it comes to just word production, because you can use the word prediction and it gets you further down into that paragraph and into that thought. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. As I said, that's all the time we have for questions, but let me turn the floor over to Beth at this time. Beth, would you like to make any closing remarks?
Thank you so much. This is Carolyn. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Carolyn. I want to thank everybody who's listening for their interest in the webinar, and just want to remind everybody again that this webinar has been recorded, and we will place the recording on the LDA website. You can find it at ldaamerica.org, clicking on the media room on the navigation bar, and then webinars on the drop-down menu from media room. And so if we didn't have a chance to address your questions, we will be contacting Carolyn, and she will give us the answers. But if you have others, you can also contact her. Another way that you can do it is go on the LDA Facebook page. I started a post there, and you can ask your questions there, and either Carolyn can get on and answer them there, or we will forward those to her. Again, October is Learning Disabilities Month, so look for this 31 Days of LD calendar. We're in our last week, so a lot of good information has passed, but there's a few more days of some information, including our Halloween tips on Friday. But each day of the weekday, we have listed an app for the day, and you might want to check out some of those as well. We also have some videos that are very inspirational, and Carolyn is featured in one of those as a success story. Now, for the fun part, on the next slide, I want to let you know about our membership giveaway. And since it is October and LD month, we are going to give away 2 prizes for anyone who joins or renews their membership. You would be placed in a drawing to receive either a Nokia Lumia 635 Windows phone or a free registration to the 2015 LDA conference in Chicago, which is in February. As Carolyn mentioned before, the AT Solutions Lab will be at the conference, and there is a video on the LDA website that highlights that and kind of let you know, give you an idea of what that looks like. So you can find that also on the website under Media Room and Videos, and be able to kind of get a glimpse of what you can expect if you go to the conference, and we sure hope you will. So if you're not a member of LDA, please consider joining, and we use the membership to provide quality webinars like we've heard today, as well as support your state affiliate with activities on the local level. Lastly, we would appreciate if you take a moment to give us feedback on the webinar. You'll receive an evaluation via email, and if you could fill that out and get it back to us, that will help us to improve. We want to thank Carolyn and everyone who has attended in this LDA webinar, and if you'd like to continue the conversation again, you can join us on the LDA Facebook page. So I think that's it for this evening. Have a great rest of the evening, and this concludes the webinar.